Okay, we have a few questions, and then I'm going to open it up. Universities are now offering regenerative programs. What are they really doing?
Agroecology has been taught for about 40 to 60 years.
Is there...
Agroecology has been taught for 40 to 60 years. It's been around for a long time. It's never been accepted for the mainstream land-grant colleges, but it's growing. You know which departments are growing the most? Agroecology. So it's coming. And so I was telling Adam, when Adam and I first started this, we were laughed and mocked by the university. Now they're hiring soil health specialists.
Yeah.
So it's coming. It's coming. So we're excited about it.
Can you speak to that, Adam? UT has a regenerative program.
I'm not real sure exactly what UT's running now, but I know in my neck of the woods in Middle Tennessee, with Motlow State Community College, Columbia State Community College, and Middle Tennessee State University, all of those schools are running a agroecology course at least once every 2 years. So it's not every semester, not every year, and they're bringing folks like myself. We don't teach the course, but they set the framework, and then we come in and we'll have several lecture sessions during the semester. And I guess the take home that I've seen from that is, and it's just like everything, through academia, that sets the foundation for us to have an understanding of the science, but it's always good to bring the real world aspect. So here's somebody, y'all been learning about agroecology for the last couple months, then bring somebody like myself in or Ray in that's actually showing how this is being applied across the landscape and different things. So I think what I've seen personally where the university is starting to bring it in, I feel like we have a humbleness that's come across academia a little bit, that I think we realize that we missed the boat on some things. And to bring other aspects in, I think it's given students that have a desire to learn more of that, a more broader spectrum where it can be applied.
Okay. Best means to remediate the soil, hemp as a rotation, ?
Hemp is wonderful. Hemp is wonderful. First you smoke it. No, hemp is wonderful because for remediating heavy metals and stuff, hemp is wonderful. And it's a different exudate into the soil and feeds different microbes. So it works wonderful in the rotation. It helps quite a bit. Adam, you want to add anything?
It's one of these things there's not going to be any silver bullet, okay, in any of this stuff. One thing we got to realize when we start talking about soil remediation, restoration, however you want to term that, diversity, we will never understand all the synergistic things that happen through diversity. Sometimes we need to just sit back and accept, take a look at nature, and don't fight it. And within, most of our production models, we're going to be looking at growing very monoculture, or we're not going to have a lot of diversity in our cash crop. I've tried the chaos gardens and all that stuff where there's 50 things growing out there, and you're scared to death. You're fixing to get bit by a copperhead every time you go out there. But to me, the key, it's very simple. There's 4 principles that must be abided by from any restoration. Okay, there's those 4 principles, and one thing I don't think that we've stressed, and I probably missed that, you can't do 25%, 50%, 75%. You got to be all in. Got to be all hog on it. Okay, you can't limit disturbance and not keep the soil covered or something. You got to have them all, and there's not one monoculture that's going to restore the soil. Now, hemp in the rotation. And then when it's not in the rotation, take the opportunities to pump the diversity, because we got all these critters living down there, guys, okay? And mashed taters may be your favorite, okay? Chicken may be your favorite. If all I'm doing is growing a plant family that's feeding mashed potatoes into the soil ecosystem, her population's going to thrive. And old Ray over here, he can survive on mashed taters for a while, but after a while, her population's going to take over, and she's going to dominate. So that's the key with diversity. I've got to plant something for her something for him right on down the line. Are we going to get them all? No. But the more diversified we put the buffet, you know, take a buffet and don't serve nothing but lettuce, what's going to be your customer base? Or take a Ryan's buffet on a Sunday afternoon in the South and go look at the diversity.
Yeah.
Okay? Same way in the soil, guys. It works the same as we do.
What is panchakarma detox, Dr. Fagan? Was that on
Panchakarma.
pancha?
Yes. Panch means 5. Karma means actions. And so there are 5 different procedures that are part of this process. Massage with oil. Washing the inside of the nose, and that goes all the way to the brain with oil. There's a part of it where you actually drink ghee, which is which is melted butter, basically, clarified butter. So each of these things saturates the tissues, where every tissue has oils around it. And those oils pull the fat-soluble toxins out of the tissues and makes them available to be washed out of the system. So first it pulls them out, and then you have procedures that actually carry the steam baths and all these sorts of things, carry those out of the system so that what usually would take literally decades, we hope is going to happen. Certainly with organochlorines it works. With organofluorines, we're hoping that we'll be able to pull those things out very quickly. And the thing is that you think of detox as being some horrible, miserable thing you have to go through. This is luxurious. It's like it is going to a spa and enjoying all of these very relaxing, luxurious experiences. So it's something that I love to do it at least once a year.
Nice.
Does that help?
I don't know who asked the question, but I think that was a good explanation.
Great.
Is glyphosate embedded in our DNA? Go ahead.
Yeah, so glyphosate is a small molecule. Your DNA is a big molecule that's already, it has its own integrity. The DNA, there might be, we have no evidence for this, but it's conceivable that glyphosate, which is charged, could interact with the DNA, which is also charged, and therefore, in a way, be intimately connected with it. But we don't know that at this point. It's a very interesting question.
Yeah.
Certainly glyphosate gets absorbed into tissues, into bone marrow. There's clear that it gets into the bone marrow and then from there into the hard tissues of the bone. It gets into your hair. We find that hair is a good tracer for glyphosate exposure over time. So all of these, and feathers in birds and things like that. But I don't know about DNA. Interesting idea.
He doesn't have any glyphosate.
Right.
Now we know what's going on.
Okay, regarding the glyphosate liability bill, what should we do if we live in the People's Republic of Georgia and the bill has already been passed and signed into law? Georgia was one of 2 states. Remember, North Dakota was the other one that passed that terrible bill. There's been talk about legislation being done to reverse and protect, but I'll let you guys speak. Bernadette, Dr. Merrill?
Go ahead. Yeah, so besides maybe passing a repeal bill to just get rid of it, I'm hoping it will be challenged in the courts because I do believe it violates the Georgia Constitution by limiting liability, and that's protected by the Constitution. So, and I suppose amendment could put in there to defang it a bit, but I really don't like that method. I don't want anything on the books that, impinges on our constitutional rights or that gives any sort of liability protection. Meryl?
So I don't know about Georgia, but nationally, what happened with this bill that was that is still in the House, but we are told it may be pulled out of the appropriations bill, is that at least the Republicans were lied about what it meant, okay? So they were told it is not a liability shield at all. It has nothing to do with that. It's just trying to equalize the rules in all the states so that California doesn't get its own label. So you can't sue in California for something. You can sue in California, but you can't sue in Idaho. So that's what they were told. And they told their constituents that. And when constituents came back to them and said, no, that's not what it's about, they denied it. So basically, lies have been used to push this bill. And because it's a very dirty bill, you're right? You're taking away rights from Americans. There's no public health benefit to this bill. The bill only helps pesticide companies and harms everybody else. So nobody really wants their name attached to it, once you know what it is. But people get very pissed off when they've been lied to, and fooled deliberately. And this is one way we can reach the other side. The liberal crazies is to explain to them, although in this case, the Democrats knew what the bill was about and the Republicans didn't. So we had 5 Dems talk about what the bill was really about, while the Republican, who was Representative Mike Simpson from Idaho, badgered them, took his finger like that. I'm going to have to tell you again what this bill is. It's not about that. It's for the MAHA moms are all wrong. It's really only about this. So anyway, this is something you can explain. They've been lying to you. I mean, what we know probably is that they've been lying to us about everything. But here's something that it's pretty easy to explain, and people can look it up themselves. You can watch, even on my website, my Substack, we link to the video of the Republican and the Democrats arguing about what this bill rider really means. So I suggest it's a nice way to open a conversation.
I just want to add that the most important thing all of you can do when you get home, get the contact information for your state rep and your state senator at the state level, and also at the federal level, but I'm talking about the state bill in particular. Get a coffee meeting, get some sort of meeting in district, sit down with them and tell them your concerns about this legislation. And if you don't have similar legislation in your state yet, still have the conversation because it's heading your way, okay? So it's citizen engagement. I mean, if we have to get vocal, we have to get loud. Raise your hand here if you have ever had a sit-down meeting with your state rep or your state senator. Very good. But every hand I want to go up next time I ask that question. They're nobody to be afraid of. And if you want resources, Meryl Nass on her website, but also Stand for Health Freedom. If you go there, resources, Battles Ahead, Food and Water. We've created several PDFs that are printable, and so you can take those with you. You don't have to be the expert. You just have to go as a concerned citizen, voicing your concern and having that engagement. Because every time Amy and I go to a state legislature, sometimes we're the only citizens there. We're looking at suit, right? All of the lobbyists are there. But I tell you, if you're in a good state, and Tennessee's a fairly good state, the mama bears get respect, and they will listen to us, and we can get changes made. So don't be afraid to reach out. You've got to pump up the volume on your engagement with the legislators.
Well, I contacted all 4 of my congressmen, Mike Simpson being one of them, and I said, if this bill passes, I expect you to resign for breaking your oath that you took to uphold the Constitution. And then gave them all the rest of the information. But I'm just appalled that they would insert a bill and think that that's going to override the Constitution. I can't understand why we don't have an attorney general who just says you're out of line. And the Supreme Court should respond directly on it. You shouldn't have to go through a bunch of court cases because it's clear. It's very, I get a lot of steam under my feet. I wore the uniform of this country for 41 years, and I'm really upset over this bill. So.
Well, Well, thank you for your service.
If I could add just one more thing. Yes, thank you. What's important is this language at every level that Bear is running through does not, in most cases, say this is a liability shield. It's deceptive language. At the federal level, it says that the EPA can't change labels inconsistent with the human health assessment and carcinogenicity classification of a chemical. Well, when the EPA is at least 15 years out of date, if not longer, on the classification of these chemicals, when courts have overturned their classifications and their assessments for failure for them to do proper science, you can see the corruption. And the pesticide industry knows that if they can hide behind the ineptness of the EPA and get away with it, and that is their shield. That's how it happens. Okay? So if you can't change the label, they just say it's not our fault, can't change the label. State level, again, it usually says something like not liable in a civil action if the EPA approved our label. Again, they're hiding behind it, right? So the label, the language is deceptive. It takes a little bit of effort to explain it. All of that is in the Stand for Health Freedom website to explain how these bills, how this deceptive language turns into a shield.
Yeah, those are good resources.
How many people know what the letters EPA represent? I have dealt directly with the agency since February of 2018, and I can assure you EPA means ensure pesticide applications. How many people know what form of government our founding fathers gave us? A constitutional republic. How does it function? How is it designed to work? If the electorate is educated and understanding of the true meaning of the Constitution and elects representation that will only strictly adhere to the Constitution. If they don't, they have to hold their feet to the fire. If they still don't, you have to vote them out and elect somebody that does. When they put this legislation forth in Iowa, I went to the Senate subcommittee hearing to testify. I didn't hear about the hearing in the House, but I went to the one in the Senate. The Bear lobbyist introduced the legislation at that subcommittee meeting, and I was like, what is going on? The legislator didn't introduce it, the Bear lobbyist introduced it, and after he got done talking, the Bear employee talked. And then they went to all of the commodity groups, the stuffed suits, male and female. Bing, 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 we can't farm without this. The lady that spoke before me was an attorney. She gave excellent testimony on the constitutionality. I gave testimony both on the harming effects of glyphosate and the legal precedent that is established in our country as a result of the lawsuits. They went around the room, they got everybody's testimony. The subcommittee chair goes right back to the Bear lobbyist, and he says, well, the next thing you know, they're going to try and blame the obesity levels in our country on glyphosate. I said, I would like to address that gentleman's comment. Wait your turn, was the response I got from the committee chair. After this guy gets done making a fool of himself and saying things that were untrue, I said, that gentleman doesn't know how prophetic he is. I said, it's a very well documented fact, the damaging effects that glyphosate has to the beneficial microbiome in the environment and in mammals. And it's also a very well-known fact how it promotes the opportunistic organism population. And the science is accumulating that shows when you don't have lactobacillus, enterococcus fecalis, and bifidobacteria in the digestive tract of the mammal, they are the most likely ones to be obese. And I said, there's also been a concern raised about the financial viability of our state. I says, if you want financial viability, pass this bill. Because when you give them free rein, you are going to ratchet up the irritable bowel syndrome, the leaky gut, the Crohn's disease, the ileitis, the kidney failure, the liver failure. All of this is going to generate maximum economic activity because of all of the carnage you're causing. And the companies that are causing the damage are throwing the Band-Aids at trying to fix it. So if you want to raise a a lot more economic activity in the state, pass it. If you don't, do your job as an elected representative for upholding the Constitution and vote no. If not for your Constitution, at least for your grandkids.
Yeah.
He looks at me and he said, "Who'd you say you are?" I introduced myself. My name is Howard Vliger. I'm a student of the soil. I'm a Christian constitutional conservative, and I'm a regenerative farmer that focuses on raising nutrient-dense food in northwest Iowa. And I'm the primary coordinator of a scientific study that was published in 2013 that demonstrates the ill effects of GMO corn and soy to pigs for their lifetime as a meat animal. He said, "What's your degree?" I bit my tongue, and I thought exactly of what Dr. Huber told me to say once upon a time. He said, "You don't have to be a rotten egg to identify one." I said, "I'm a student of the soil." "Well, you don't have a degree." I said, "No, sir. I'm working on it. I go to HKU." We have to tell the people the dam broke. Everybody in this room has to tell the people the dam broke. That's your neighbors, that's your friends, that's the legislators.
Well, there's no easy answer to that question, but getting to the next question, doesn't Farm Bureau cover life health insurance for farmers? My hair has been falling out ever since Farmer Davis did his second spray this year. Hair loss covered in EPA label. Fluidoxoral. Do you know all how toxic it is?
My experience with Farm Bureau is this. As the one gentleman said, the local county branches mostly are on the right track. The hierarchy is strictly and completely and totally controlled by chemical-intensive industrial agriculture. Full stop. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And if I'm wrong, prove it. Where's the evidence? There is none.
Well, they've been colluding for a long time with, that was in the Monsanto papers too. The Farm Bureau was colluding with Monsanto, the company, so.
I just want to add to that. Have you heard of Stockholm Syndrome?
Yeah.
You protect your captor. When I started teaching soil health all over the country, you know who fought me? The Corn Board, the Soybean, Farm Bureau. You need to understand there's an ancestral relationship, and they're going to protect their income. It's all interrelated. Mm-hmm. And it's done out of ignorance, not because they decide to do this, but they're your biggest opposers. But please understand, I spent 8 years in university and I had it wrong. Understand where they're coming from their paradigms. That's where it is. And and you'll protect your captor. If they feel they're losing their tools and you're challenging their livelihood, they're gonna circle the wagons because they don't know any better. I was them. So that's why I approach them in a certain way, and that's why Adam and I were talking about approach them in a way and teach them, guide them. Once you teach them, because they don't want to spend the money for this. They don't. But you got to teach them, and you got to understand where their context is. That's the way I approach them.
Let me just say one thing. You think that an insurance company would want to pay out fewer dollars to their subscribers, but it doesn't necessarily work that way. So with Obamacare, for instance, the insurers were able to collect a certain percentage of the total. So the more they could pay out, the more they could charge, and the more they could keep. So they love you getting sick and going to the doctor because your premiums are going up a lot next year, and they get, I think, up to 19% to keep.
Bernadette?
Yeah, and exactly what Meryl said is I wondered years ago why aren't the insurance companies looking at their numbers and being on our side for, like, especially on the whole vaccine issue, when the vaccine injured have so many more chronic health conditions. And then it dawned on me that big medicine and big pharma with their massive costs can't survive without big insurance. They can't. who has out of pocket to even go to the ER and generate a $10,000 bill? So everyone here pays a couple of $100 at least every single month into the big insurance pool so that we can feed the big industries, right? And so I'm kind of a big believer in, yeah, I need catastrophic insurance if something horrible happens and I need big coverage, but I think a lot of the problems now is people are picking a doctor based on what their insurance coverage will handle instead of the doctor down the road who's the functional or the naturopathic doctor who will really help them.
And it's too expensive
well,
half
yeah.
the time, people say, you know? Okay. That's amazing.
So I have a few questions, but I'll try to just get maybe one. Can you guys talk a little bit more about transitioning, like exactly how you would recommend somebody transition from conventional to regenerative? I'll just give you a little context. We are doing our best to do regenerative. So we have a farm. We raise grass-fed and finished beef. We raise forest pork. We don't do any chemicals whatsoever. Our farm, I don't think it had been sprayed for at least 20 years, but we started with very neglected soil. So our soil, the organic matter, when we measured it, when we just got the farm, was 4.8%. I don't know what it is now. We've only been doing it about a year and a half. My plan is to check it in the spring, so at 2 years. So what we have been doing is rotating our animals every day. We have not put on any type of fertilizer or anything like that, but we bale graze in the winter, and we actually did some cover crop on certain areas this summer. But we don't have access to a no-till drill. So we did some disking in order to put that in. So I guess my question is, what is your recommendation for somebody who's like in my situation? Do we just keep doing what we're doing, or is there any other things, like is the right way to go trying to do a cover crop in order to try to increase the root exudates and things like that? I would just love your input.
You start first.
Me first. Number one, just keep doing what you're doing. Okay, you're hitting the principles. Now, as far as grazing systems on anything, financially, you're going to be better off running perennial systems. Okay, it's going to be cheaper on you. You're going to be able to do that. Naturally, we have a lot of perennial systems, so that mimics nature. Strive on diversifying those as much as you can with perennial plants would be one thing. I would caution you. Do not use organic matter as a metric for measuring your success, okay? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about organic matter. Organic matter is a result. Focus on capturing energy. Keep in mind, organic matter ranges from everything from sunshine to a diamond, okay? Focus on capturing energy every day you can. Keep the cows moving. It's a density duration thing. There's no silver bullet to it. Now, where covers will come in and utilizing annual plants will be from a marketing standpoint. If you all really strive, you know, we got this whole thing, you know, grass finished beef, grass fed beef. Well, and then us as humans, we like this grain-fed beef because we've been in grain because we like it the way that tastes. But you can start setting up your proteins, your carbon levels, your energies. You can start building those spinach and forages, whereas a lot of folks, you know, I think we mentioned earlier, had one person say that they will finish out the last 120 days on grain because they want that flavor. That's a choice, okay? We can do the same thing with forages, but you're not going to do it on Dallas grass fescue.
I was just expressing that when we had the NRCS out to our farm, instead of talking about, okay, how can we, coaching us on how we could improve our pasture naturally, they were saying how we could get grants to spray the weeds, and we don't want to do that. I mean, we know a lot of what you're saying has just been reinvigorated. We already know the things. We want to do it the right way, but we would love somebody to, you know, help us with that. So like it's the nuts and bolts. Like we have had a lot of trial and error. Like, you know, we overgrazed this spring because, you know, like we're learning a lot. But we're learning from also making mistakes, which is good. I think everybody does that. But just, looking for that. So I was disappointed with the NRCS. I wish everybody could be like you.
I don't know. Be careful what you wish for. The one thing I see just commonly, we're overstocked, okay? And we get overstocked in this geographical region because we're so blessed with our climate. We can screw up pretty royally, and within 2 weeks, we're going to get a drop of rain, and it's going to heal. I got folks that are more fragile climates. They can make the same mess-ups, and it may be 2 years before they recover from those mess-ups. As far as, like, worrying about a no-till drill versus discing and all that kind of stuff, keep in mind, our soil is designed it can handle acute stresses, okay? And, I want you to get seed to soil contact. I actually prefer a broadcasted application with a light incorporation of a disc as opposed to running a drill where I'm isolating root structure on 7.5-inch spacing, okay? But, you can scratch it up and do that. So don't think that that's a game changer. Okay. You don't have to work it 6 inches deep. You just got to get seed to soil contact. You can also utilize the foot traffic and some of that that is a disturbance to be able to start. I've really seen a lot of success when folks want to start increasing the diversity of their perennial pastures. How do we do that? Well, that's just before the cattle graze, we're going out in front of them and we're putting our seed out in front, letting the cattle integrate that seed in the ground. Are we getting 100% germ? No, we're not. But when they fell out on the prairies, when the bison walked across, did they get 100%? And I tell you what, it worked good. Until we mess that up too. Okay, but just stay steadfast. Understand this is it. It's a journey. Okay, and be careful think about, a lot of times when we think about words, for example, if you talk to NRCS, you're probably going to hear the word prescribed grazing. Okay, that's the foolishest word it's ever been. We want to write a prescription to a dynamic management system. Adaptive management grazing. Don't think about sequestering carbon. We don't want to sequester carbon, folks. It's just the word that messes that up. Okay? You want to be a carbon steward. You don't want to take carbon in the ground and hold it in the vault. You just want to start cycling the energy a little bit different than what we have in mainstream agriculture. So just by changing the words, just think about if we went mainstream and never said carbon sequestration, and we started saying we're carbon stewardship, how automatically that changes our mindset of the way the system's designed to work. But that's a lot of rambling on. Pack them tight, move them daily.
I got just a couple of things to add to that. Look,
Said that.
go to a grazing school that we teach. It's a 3-day, sign up for Soil Health Academy. We have new soil tests now that are dynamic and measure the biology. When I go to a doctor, you know why doctors do blood samples? It is the most powerful indicator. The Haney, the PLFA, some of these biological tests, know where you're at. And then use these tools. Come to a school. Learn how to set up the grazing, the paddocks and everything else. I tell people, do not start grazing until you come to a school because you'll make a lot of mistakes. You set up the grazing things wrong. Go to a 3-day school. You'll learn so much.
And I will add something else. As you all do infrastructure, don't do nothing permanent to start out with.
Yeah,
Okay.
we have not.
If you get NRCS out there and they say, we want to put a 4-hole tank here, a 4-hole tank, big permanent, no.
Yeah, that's exactly what they said, and we were like, no, that's not going to work.
I like one per farm, and here's the reason why, because who runs the farm? The women.
You got that right.
And when it's froze over in the winter, who's busting the ice? The women. So I want to set it up so when it's 3 degrees outside, you wake up and you're happy that morning because I got to spend the rest of the day with you. And if you start out breaking ice in the morning, I'm going to have a bad day. Okay? So I like to have one deal. Ideally, and you're up there on top of that mountain, you need to have water every 200 foot. From some way you run, you need to have. Now, that does not mean you have a 4-hole tank, but that means that you have a plug and play, a quick connect riser. So the cattle the livestock, everything that drinks, I don't care what they are, they move with the water. They move with the water, and then you rotate that around. there ain't no silver bullet, but if you set up the infrastructure wrong, and I've done it for years. I set up these systems right here, these static systems, and we're gonna graze this paddock 3 days. We're gonna graze this, and it was a disaster. I'm gonna set up the infrastructure where y'all can adapt and manage. So if you're getting plenty of rainfalls, man, we're on quick track, we're moving, trying to stay ahead of it. Or if we turn off dry as a popcorn poot like we are right now, you've gotta adjust. And that's just one thing you gotta keep in your mind. It will never be different any day.
Go to a school.
Go ahead, Dr. Nass.
Thanks. I'm the founder of this organization, Door to Freedom, and we are creating a coalition called SaveOurFoodAndFarms.org, which will be rolling out a big campaign next month. Now, why are we doing that? Because the farmer can't win, because the system is set up to kill all the small farmers and to make them sell off their land. If you go to our website, which is still in construction, you will find 50 ways farmers are being attacked. You will learn, which you probably already know, that a rancher only gets 30 cents on the dollar, the retail dollar for his animals. In 1970, he got 70 cents. So he's gone down to 30. They say a vegetable farmer or a crop farmer is getting something like 20 cents, 12 of the retail price for his product, okay? There are many reasons for that. The system is set up to make you fail. Both globalism, which wants to completely change the food system, have it all be industrial, patented agriculture, and bugs, et cetera. Remember, they don't want us to eat meat or milk because it's bad for the climate. That's a whole, bullshit. The federal government has a lot of rules to prevent us transacting with each other, particularly regarding meat, but to some extent regarding fruits and vegetables as well. And there are many other reasons, other rules, regulations, et cetera. The way the subsidy system works, the way the Farm Bill works. If the farmer makes another dime by doing everything right, the monopolies that are selling him every input and buying what he produces are going to pay him less or raise the prices of the inputs. So until we really gain control of this system and start supporting small farmers, you're still not going to win, even if you use cover crops and do everything organically. And so what we're trying to do is take down barriers so that you can sell freely to your neighbors and within your state, maybe even within the country. Point out the regulations, point out what's going on. There are a bunch of bills in Congress now that we support, that you'll see on our website. And we have to fight the monopolies. The federal government for 45 years has not been enforcing its antitrust bills. And until we get rid of the monopolies that are dominating agriculture right now, we cannot win. 4 companies control 85% of beef processing in this country. A lot of different labels, 4 companies. 4 companies control 67% of pork. 4 companies control like some large amount of cotton, large amount of corn. I can't remember the numbers. The Farm Action website has all that. So we have a very, very serious systemic problem. 8% of farmers, which is 160,000 farms, have gone under in the 7 years between 2017 and 2024, according to the USDA. 8% of all farms. So we have a big problem on our hands, and I just want to say that soil is super important, but remember this.
Yeah, and there are other, like Kevin right in front of me, soil guy, right here in Tennessee. You've got Crossing Creek Farms, which we can connect you. She's actually on our state council. You connected? Okay. So they're doing more education and getting in touch with people that are right in your backyard.